Imagine the day is over and you're driving home. You tune into your radio and you hear a blurb about a little village in India. Some villagers have died suddenly, strangely, of a flu that has never been seen before. It's not influenza, but 3 or 4 people are dead, and it's kind of interesting. They're sending some doctors over there to investigate it. You don't think much about it, but over the weekend you hear another similar story. Only it's not 3 villagers. It's 30,000 people in the back hills of this same area of India. And it's on TV that night. National News runs a story that people are heading to the disease center in Atlanta because this disease strain has never been seen before. By Monday morning when you get up, it's the lead story. And now it's not just India. It's Pakistan, Afghanistan, Iran. And before you know it, the main story everywhere is this mystery flu. The president has made a comment that he and everyone are praying, hoping that all will go well over there. But everyone is wondering, how are we going to contain it? That's when the president of France makes a shocking announcement. He is closing their borders, and no flights from India, Pakistan, or any of the countries where this illness has been seen will be allowed in. By that night before going to bed, your eyebrows raise when you see a weeping woman speaking. Translated from a French news program into English, she says there's a man lying in a hospital in Paris dying of the mystery flu. It's come to Europe. Panic strikes. As best the doctors can tell, once you get it, you have it for a week and you don't even know it. But it's followed by 4 days of unbelievable symptoms. And then you die. Britain closes its borders, but it's too late. By Tuesday morning, the President of the United States makes an announcement. Due to a national security risk, all flights to and from Europe and Asia have been canceled. If your loved ones are overseas, I'm sorry, they cannot come back until we find a cure for this thing. Within 4 days, our nation has been plunged into an unbelievable fear. People are selling masks for your face. Everyone is talking about what if it comes to our country. Preachers are saying this is the wrath of God. You get home on Wednesday night and the lead story is shocking. 2 women are lying in a Long Island hospital dying from the mystery flu. By Thursday, this thing has swept across the country. California, Oregon, Arizona, Florida, Massachusetts. It's as though it's just sweeping in from the borders. People are working around the clock trying to find an antidote, but nothing is working. But all of a sudden on Friday morning, news comes out that the code has been broken. A cure can be found, a vaccine can be made. But it's going to take the blood of somebody who hasn't been infected. The president issues a proclamation that everyone do just one simple thing. Go to your nearest hospital and have your blood type taken. That's all we ask of you. When you hear the sirens go off in your neighborhood, please make your way quietly, quickly, and safely to your nearest hospital. Sure enough, when you and your family get down there late on Friday night, there's a long line. They've got nurses and doctors coming out, pricking fingers and taking blood and putting labels on it. Your wife and your kids are all there. They take each of your blood type and tell you to wait here in the parking lot, and if we call your name, you can be dismissed and go home. You stand around with your neighbors, anxiously wondering what in the world is going on. Could this be the end of the world? Suddenly, a young man comes running out of the hospital, screaming. He's yelling a name and waving a clipboard. What's he saying? There, he yells it again, and your young son tugs on your jacket and says, "Daddy, that's me. He's calling my name." Before you know it, they've grabbed your little boy. "Wait a minute, hold it," you say. And they say, "It's okay. His blood is clean. His blood is pure. We think he's got the right type. We want to make sure he doesn't have the disease." But the man excitedly exclaims, "Your son could save the world." As 5, 10, 15 agonizing minutes go by, all the doctors and nurses finally come out. They're crying tears of joy and hugging each other. Some are even laughing. For the first time in a week, you've seen somebody laugh. An old doctor walks up to you and says, "Thank you, sir. Your son's blood type is perfect. It's clean, it's pure, and we can make the vaccine." As the word begins to spread across the parking lot, people are screaming and praying. Some are laughing, others are crying. But then the gray-haired doctor pulls you and your wife aside and says, "May we see you for a moment?" He says in a more somber tone, "We didn't realize the donor would be a minor. And with your son being so young, well, we'll need you to sign a consent form." You begin to sign, and then you notice the line indicating the number of pints of blood that are going to be needed is empty. You say, "How many pints do you need?" And that's when the old doctor's smile fades. And he says, "We had no idea it would be a little child. We weren't prepared. We'll need it all, sir." But you begin, but the old doctor interrupts and says, "You don't understand. We're talking about the whole world. Please sign." You argue, "But can't you give him a transfusion?" He says, "If we had clean blood, we would, but we don't. Can you sign, please? Won't you sign?" In numb silence, you sign. Then the doctor says, "Would you like to have a moment with him before we start? Could you walk back to that room where your little boy sits on a table saying, 'Daddy, Mommy, what's going on?' Can you take his hands and say, 'Son, your mommy and I love you very much. We would never ever let anything happen to you that just didn't have to be.' Do you understand that?" And when that old doctor comes back in and says, "I'm sorry, we've got to get started. People all over the world are dying." Could you leave? Could you walk out while he's saying, "Dad, Mom, Dad, why? Don't leave me. Why are you leaving? Why have you forsaken me?" Then the next week, when they have a huge ceremony to honor your son, some folks sleep through it. Other people don't even care enough to come because they already have plans, like going to the lake or the golf course. Others come, but with a pretentious smile. Dignitaries show up, but they just pretend to care. Would you want to jump up and say, "My son died, don't you care?" Think about it. Is that what God is saying? My son died. Don't you know how much I care? Father, seeing it from your eyes breaks our hearts. Let us comprehend, if only a glimpse, of the sacrifice that you made and the great love you have for us.